There are some people who are out here going hard, going in very, very hard for those people in whom they say they love, who they respect, who they care for. And all the while, the people that they should be loving and respecting and going hard for, they're not. They're not. We're living in a time that, and you can only see it once you sit back, get quiet, and pay attention to the things that is going on in this life. I am a people watcher. I like to go and sit by myself and just watch people go about their busy days. Not nothing all crazy and weird, but when I'm out and about, and if I go and get me something to eat, I like to go where a lot of movement is taking place. I'm a woman, so I don't want to be in an empty parking lot sitting by myself. So I go and I sit way, way far away to just, eat whatever and just watch people. People are so amazing, so different, but so much alike. And we get to this place in our lives where we allow people to pit us against each other. And we're so much alike, but we go with the flow of things. And we allow people to come in and interrupt what I think God had planned from the beginning of time. Because people need people. We need each other. And I know we can live without each other because the big C in 2020 taught us that you might have to stay away from people for a certain amount of time. And I know for that to be true because I'm a kidney transplant recipient. So during that time, the C time, I didn't let anyone in and out of my house because I know with me being immunocompromised, it could be dangerous for my kidney transplant. But I think that we have gotten to a place where we don't even use our own judgment about people anymore. We just allow people to dictate to us and tell us how we should feel about one another. And we don't get to know each other because if they tell you you should not get to know them, you don't want to know anything about them, those are bad people. So now, all the while, you wanted to get a chance to speak with that person, to get to know them because they seem like they're pretty good people. But you allow people to speak into your life and tell you, no, you don't need to get to know them. We're living in sad times, guys. And the sad part about it is, a lot of these people say that they know God and they love God and they are Christians and they don't do and show love for one another. They don't pray for mankind. They don't try to help mankind out. They just sit back and thinking that some type of way that God is pleased just because they say that they believe him and they are his child. And they go and they sit up in a building and they worship him and they pray and they go home. But even in that, God knows the hidden intent of a person's heart. We can say that we love God all we want to. We can say that we are God's child all we want to. But God is a God that knows everything. We can't hide nothing from God. We can hide things that we do from each other. But God is a revealer of the true you and I. You can't like a clown. See a clown go and put on the red nose and the makeup and the big floppy shoes and the big floppy outfit. And if you don't know that clown personally, if you don't see that clown get into that outfit and make his face up and go out there into the crowd, you really and truly do not know who that clown is. You just know that this is a clown. And if you like clowns, you enjoy the show. But when the show is over, that clown leave, exit that place, and that clown go and do what it do. But then it go and take the makeup off, the red nose, the floppy shoes, and the big outfit, and the clown is back to him or herself. We living in a time like that where people are who they say they are. People are wearing masks. And they tell you and I that they are doing something this way, and all the while they are doing it that way. Being manipulative and being deceitful. But even in that, God knows the hidden intent of a person's heart. All of us need to know. At the end of this thing called life, we're going to have to stand before God. Like I always say in my video, I know that there are people, oh, I don't believe in God. You don't have to, because that's your right. But at the end of this thing called life, when we stand before God to give an account for the deeds that have been done in this body, either you going to be right and I'm going to be wrong, or I'm going to be right and you going to be wrong. At the end of this thing, we're going to stand before God to give an account for the deeds that have been done in this body. No man have seen God and lived. Even when I was a little girl, I remember my grandma used to have this picture of a white Jesus in her home. I never, even as a child, I never said that was Jesus. Never did I say that. And as the older I got and I began to be in the Word, and I know that the scriptures say that no man had ever seen God and lived. So that was an indication to me right then. Nobody really knows how he look. So I dare not call myself, think that I'm fixing to worship him that I never seen before. And when he gave the description of Jesus, it talks about the woolly hair, the red eyes. It started giving you description. So I never put in my mind that Jesus was this color or God was this color. I know that God is a God of love. And if you do not have love, you do not know God. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. If you do not have love, you do not know God, because God is love. And all of God's children know love. All of God's children will be tested on their love. You're going to be tested. Do you really and truly love? Do you really and truly love God? Because God would allow some things to happen to each of us in our life that would break our heart. Are you still going to love me? Are you still going to love me? People love to say God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. When God allow your heart to be broken, are you still going to say that you love God? Are you still going to say that God is good all the time, and all the time God is good? See, one thing about life, it'll test that. It'll test that. It is a sad situation, guys. We are in 2024. And some people that say how much they love God, and you can turn around and you can do your neighbor in ways that is not pleasant and very unpleasing to God. And you might say, well, who is my neighbor? Phyllis, you don't know my neighbor. Yes, I do. Your neighbor is that person who's in line with you at the store. Your neighbor is that person who greeted you when you entered into that restaurant. Your neighbor is your crew partner at church. Your neighbor is that person that sits next to you when you're on the train, when you're on the airplane, when you're in line at the airport. That is your neighbor. Your neighbor is that person whom you come in close contact with. How do you treat your neighbor? How do you feel about your neighbor? Have your neighbor ever did anything to you for you not to like your neighbor because of the texture of their hair and the color of their skin? What did your neighbor ever do to you? You and I need to realize at the end of this thing called life. See, because I've never seen a person that laid in a casket was able to take their bank account with them, their money, the treasures that they have stored up in their home. I never seen that. And even if someone just gets smart and put a U-Haul attached to a hearse, it still would not serve that person who have closed their eyes to this time side of life. It won't serve them. So you could even put it in the ground next to them or put it up on there and pour it on top of them. It would serve that person no good. At the end of this thing called life, we're going to have to stand before God to give an account for the deeds that have been done in this body. We got to stop playing. It's time to stop playing. It's time to stop being deceitful towards one another and thinking that you're doing something and getting away with it. God knows the hidden intent of a person's heart, and he's going to judge each and every one of us accordingly. We got to stop. For the love that God would want us to have, we need to make sure we search it out. Pray and ask God, God, what do the love that you require that I have for mankind look like? Teach me how to love, God. Teach me that no matter what type of family in my background, in the history of my family, wherever I come from, if love was not something that I was taught not to give to another race of people, undo that in my heart, God. Undo that in my heart. Because I know that when I stand before you, if my heart is not pure and if my heart is not right, I would not be able to enter into the kingdom of heaven. You're love, God. And I know in order for me to see you and be at peace, I got to be right. I got to stand before you right. Guys, we got to get it together. I promise you. Because none of us are going to outlive this thing called life. All of us going to give up the ghost. That breath that's in our body, we all are going to give up the ghost. We're going to leave this place. And we're going to either enter into one of two places. There is no middle ground when we close our eyes to this time side of life. We're going to either spend eternity with God forever, or we're going to go to the big Hell. The choice is yours. We got to do better. And we got to love each other. If we want to see God in peace, we got to love each other. And you can say, I'm not loving nobody. I'm going to live my life like I want to. You go on with your bad self. Your bad self that say you're a Christian. Or your bad self that say that you're not a Christian. And you're going to do your life the way you want to do your life. Go on with your bad self. Because you got a right. Because that's your life. And you can live it any kind of way that you want to live it. But all of us need to know, at the end of this thing called life, every last one of us are going to stand before the judgment seat of God and give an account for the deeds that have been done in this body. And no one, at the feet of the cross, the ground is level when it comes to God. At the feet of the cross, the ground is level. Because everything that you and I got, God gave it to us. It all belongs to him. I don't care how hard you work for something. God gave you the breath in your body. He gave you the ability to go out there and get that. Yes, he did. And at the end of this thing called life, he always come back to get one of the biggest blessings, the biggest blessing that we all carry around every day. And that is his breath. God come back and retrieve his breath that is in our bodies. We think we're big and bad and we got it made and I stay here and I got the biggest bank account. I drive the nicest car. I stay in the nicest neighborhood. I can send my kids here, my grandchildren here. I wear red bottoms. I drink the best water. I like fruits and vegetables and organic stuff and all that. That is good. And that is truly a blessing if that's how you living. And if those are the blessings that God have given you. But at the end of this thing called life, no one is going to outlive it. None of us. No man knoweth the day nor the time that God will come back to retrieve that which he so desired to retrieve. And that's his breath. He coming back for that breath, baby. And no matter who you are, when your time is up, and my time is up, he's going to come back and get that. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Like I said, you don't have to believe him. You don't have to believe that he exists. You don't have to. And I'm not trying to convince you, because by now, I talk to only grown people. If you don't know him by now, you might not never will. If you don't care for him by now, you might not never will. But like I said, at the end of this thing called life, we're going to stand before the great judgment seat of God to give an account for the deeds that have been done in his body. Either you're going to be right and I'm going to be wrong. Or I'm going to be wrong and you're going to be right. But God going to judge something. We're going to stand there and give an account. We got to do right by people. Stop playing. Stop playing. Stop being manipulative. Stop being deceitful. Stop playing the games that you play. And just know, God knows the hidden intent of a man's heart. He knows when you're right. Sis, he knows when you're right. Brother, he knows when you're right. And he knows when you're wrong. Get it right. Get it right. And treat people right. Most of us, when we come in contact with people, the time that we're in their space is limited. It's very limited. It's very short. The span of time that we come in contact with people is real, real short. And you mean to tell me you sitting up there rolling your eyes, don't like people. For what reason? For that great second. You getting all in your feeling, thinking that they shouldn't be in this store. They shouldn't be here. Why are they here? They don't have a right to be here. All that. For that quick second, 10, 15, 20 seconds, you getting yourself all upset about that. When God ain't pleased, man ain't safe. I said it, and I mean it. When God ain't pleased, man ain't safe. We need to get ourselves together. We need to get our life together. Because when he come back, because he's coming back to retrieve that he has put in the inside of each and every one of us. If we're breathing, he's coming back for it. He's coming back. He's coming back to retrieve his breath that he so lovely placed in each and every one of us. I love you guys. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And love each other. Because God is love. And that is what he requires of us. It's to love one another. This is my moment. This has been a chosen moment. Be blessed. Always remember and never, ever, ever, ever forget. When I make a video, it is not about you. It is about me and you. It's a teachable moment for me, but it's also a teachable moment for you. Take care and be blessed.